In this guide, I will go over the best spots to ward during laning phase. I will split this guide into two parts. The first part will cover where to place wards when you are playing aggressive or pushing the wave in. The second part will cover where to place wards when you are playing defensive or being pushed in. I will also include where to place pink wards and a bonus tip on maximizing vision granted from a ward, so make sure you don't miss that. If you are playing aggressive on blue side, the first ward that you want to place is this ward right over here. The reason that this is the best possible ward you can place is because it gives you vision of Gromp as well as blue buff. So even though you don't actually see blue buff, if the enemy jungler were to come and do blue buff, you'll be able to see it. Even if they were to drag into the bush, the blue buff will walk out and you'll spot the blue buff here. So another benefit of this ward right here is that you're able to see where the jungler will path after he clears these two camps. So let's say if the enemy jungler clears blue buff, he has two choices, either to clear Gromp or walk down and try to gank your lane, okay? And if you see that he's walking down, obviously you're going to play safe and you're going to walk and ping your ADC back and just walk back and play safe, okay? Second option the jungler has is take blue buff and take Gromp. Okay, after taking Gromp, you can clearly see that there's still vision here. If he is dragging the Gromp downwards, then you know that he's most likely pathing to lane gank you here. Okay, or taking a blast cone and jumping over and ganking you. So if you see the enemy jungler pathing down or pathing down this way, you want to play safe and you will not get ganked. The second ward you want to place when you're playing aggressive on blue side is this ward right over here, the river bush. Okay, the reason why is because this ward right here will grant you the vision of this side and this entrance here. So if enemy jungler walks here to path this way to try to river gank you through the river, you'll see that. Okay, and also if mid lane pushes in and is trying to roam, you will see that he's walking through this middle river. So you'll also spot that, and then you will know to play safe. So now that you have placed the first ward over here and the second ward over here, you essentially cannot get ganked at all. The only possible way you can get ganked is if the enemy jungler decides to gank you through the lane directly from base. So if they walk from base and they gank you, then that's the only way you can get ganked, okay? Because here, if they were to do this camp, they have to go over this ward in order to gank bot lane, okay? And the second option they have is if they do this camp and they go down here to gank you, you also spot them. So essentially, you spot them either path they take in order to gank bot lane, and that leaves you with no weaknesses other than a lane gank. So for the pink ward placement, when you're playing aggressive on blue side, is this river bush right here. So it applies the same exact concept as what I mentioned before. The enemy jungler, if he decides to come through here, you'll spot him, and you also spot the mid lane coming to roam. And the bonus benefit of this is that you can also deny the enemy from placing a regular ward here or even a pink ward here, because you can clear it. And if they're using the same concept as me, then they'll most likely ward this, and if you pink this, you deny them that vision and you just create complete darkness for them, okay? And then you're more open to roaming from bot lane all the way to mid lane if you were to do that, and your mid lane can also roam bot lane if they want to do that, or even your own jungler can take advantage of this pink here and invade your enemy. The second pink ward that you can place is this one right over here. Okay, this pink over here combined with this trinket ward over here gives you a decent amount of information, right? You only lack this vision right here, but if your mid lane or jungler can paint this for you, then that would be the time when you want to paint this. Or if your own jungler is trying to gank here to set up for a counter gank, you can pink this instead of this. But generally speaking, I prefer pinking this one over this one, unless I know that it's going to get cleared, then I will just put the pink over here. if you are playing aggressive on red side, the two wards that you want to place is this one right here and this one right here. Okay, the reason being is that this covers the most amount of vision, and it will give you almost all the information you need, because the enemy jungler has two choices: either to path through this way, in which you'll see him if he's trying to come through here. You can spot him, whether he's going for the river, or if he's going down this way, or if he's trying to gank mid lane. You can all spot that, okay? And for this ward over here, if he decides not to take this path and he decides to take this path, you can see that he's going to go to do red, or if he's doing Krugs, you'll clearly see that he's pathing whichever way, and you can play accordingly. The first pink ward placement for when you're playing aggressive on red side is this ward right over here. Okay, so as mentioned before, this is the same exact ward, except it's very common that the jungler does not check this bush. Okay, and they most often just completely miss it. Okay, because most junglers just path this way. So they go down here, you can clearly see that he's doing red, or if he's pathing down this way, he's doing Krugs, and you can play accordingly. The second pink ward placement for when you're playing aggressive on red side is this one right here. Okay, so this pink ward denies your enemy vision so that your jungler can easily come and set up a dive. Okay, that's the first benefit. Second benefit, obviously, is that it can spot the enemy if he's trying to gank through here, or if he is trying to gank through here. But this is less vision. It just gives you a little warning and heads up. But as long as you have this warded and also this bush warded, you will be fine, and you have almost complete vision of all possible ways to get ganked. The only other way around this is if they have a dash, or they take the blast cone over here and they decide to gank you down this way. If you're playing aggressive on red side and you're limited on wards, this is most likely the case when it's really early game where you only have one ward, then this is the best possible ward. Okay, the reason being is if you only ward this bush, then you have Fog of War here. Okay, you have Fog of War over here, and they can gank you through this way. Okay, and if you ward the river, they can gank you through Tribush. Okay, but if you place this ward over here, you can see that if they're coming down from river, you can clearly see that, or if they're coming to gank from Tribush, you can also see that. Another benefit of this ward is that oftentimes this Tribush right over here is pinked, and this ward right here is out of reach. So if, let's say, you're playing aggressive and you are not able to clear this because there's a pink here, and also there's possible that enemy jungler may be waiting to gank you, so you would just place this ward over here. So they would think that they're free to gank you, but you'll spot them once they walk out of this bush, and you can just back off. If you're playing defensive on blue side, the two wards you want to place are this one over here and this one over here. Okay, the reason being is that obviously if you're being pushed into tower, then you want to ward this so that you know if they're trying to set up a dive either with the enemy jungler or enemy mid roaming. And the second ward you want to place is this ward over here, because if, let's say, the enemy jungler decides to take a blast cone, they try to loop around here and take the blast cone over, you'll spot that and you can back off early and play accordingly. Or if they decide to take a blast cone or even walk around here to take Krug and then dive you, you can also easily spot that. If you're playing defensive on red side, where you want to ward is this spot right here and this spot right here. So the reason for this ward is so that you can deny, or at least see if the enemy jungler is trying to set up a dive either through here, jumping through here, or just walking through here. Then you know that you can back off. Okay, and the reason for this ward over here is so that when you're standing here, if the enemy support is standing here, you are able, right, if the enemy is standing here, you can see where they are, and you can see if they're trying to throw a projectile at you, and you can easily dodge it. So the very last tip that I was going to give you guys is this bonus tip right here. Where you want to place a ward is usually at the very edge of the bush. Okay, and the reason being is that it actually grants you maximum amount of vision possible. In this case, the ward is right at the very tip of the bush, and it's granting us this much vision. Comparing this ward with the previous ward, you can clearly see that our vision is a lot more limited to just these four corners, and we are completely missing this whole area. This is another example of taking advantage of putting the ward at the very edge of the bush. As you can see, I get vision up to here, here, and here. Compared to the previous ward over here, this ward over here only grants us vision up to here and up to here, and we completely miss out on this part of the map. The ward tip is applicable throughout the map, but I'm not going to go over all of them as that would take way too long. I might make a part 2 to this guide where I go over how to ward in the mid game, which will be more advanced and include shifting vision control and the importance of denying vision. This is the first time I'm making this type of video, so feel free to leave me feedback in the comments and drop a like and subscribe if you want more of these types of videos.